Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to lay out either a mortise or a tenon. I'm going to go ahead and show both in this video. A lot of the skills are going to be the same here, but for our mortise, we're going to start out with just kind of some dimensions here. We're going to say we're starting out with a 3/4 inch piece of stock, and we want to put our mortise 1/4 inch in. It's going to be 1/4 inch wide, which is going to leave us with about 1/4 inch on the back there. We're going to start our mortise 1/2 inch down, and then I want my mortise to be 1.5 inches tall from top to bottom. So those are the dimensions I'm going to need here to make my mortise. On the other side, when I go to make my tenon, I'm going to just need to keep those dimensions in mind, right? It's going to be 1/2 inch down, 1.5 inches long, 1/4 inch in from the face, and 1/4 inch thick. So we'll do the same thing on our tenon, and we'll make our tenon just about 1 inch long, just to make it kind of easy. So I've already got a mortise in this board. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of flip it over here and show that process again. And we're going to zoom in here just a little bit. I'm going to be using a combination square for this. It's probably not the best tool, but it will work. And what I'm going to start with here is just deciding on which of my faces of my board is going to be the reference face. So I'm going to put an F on here, and that'll match up with an F on my other board. And I know that those are the front faces, so I'm measuring off of those faces. So what I'll do here is I'm going to start from my face that I marked. I'm going to measure in 1/4 inch. And so I have my square here set to 1/4 inch. I'll double check that real quick. And I'm just going to push my square up against the board and trace right along it, and just kind of make a line that is 1/4 inch in. Again, there's lots of ways to do this. This is just an easy way to kind of start out with. So I've got my first side of my mortise. Now, when I look at my measurements here, I can't measure that 1/4 inch at the middle of my board, so I'm gonna have to measure from the edge. The end of my mortise is 1/4 plus 1/4, or 1/2 inch in from the edge. So I'm gonna reset my square here to 1/2 inch, and I'm referencing off of that same face. That is the key here to get this to work out. So I'm referencing off that same face, and I'm just gonna go ahead and draw my second end of my mortise. So there. So now I know that my mortise is going to take out material in the middle. Next up, I know I need my mortise to start 1/2 inch down. Well, I'm already at 1/2 inch here. So I'm just going to use that 1/2 inch that I already have marked. Make sure I'm referencing on that square end of the board. And I'm just going to draw a line like that. Just double checking that I'm in the screen still. And the same thing for my bottom of my mortise. I know I need to be to 1/2 inch plus 1.5 inches. So at bottom of my mortise is 2 inches from the top. So I'll reset this to 2 inches. And now referencing the top of my board again, make sure it's nice and square. I'm just going to draw right along the bottom of my ruler. So there's one way to lay out a mortise. And I've got this piece right here, which is what I'm going to remove. I have my face marked, so I know what reference face I'm going off of on all that. And that's exactly what I did to mark out this mortise. Now, to make the opposing tenon, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I'm going to be doing it on the end of my board. Just like before, I've got my face marked out. And so I'm going to set my combination square back to 1/4 inch. And I'm going to start by laying out this way where my mortise is going to be. This gets a little bit tricky, but we're going to just do our best. And I'm going to try to do my best to continue to video this. So I have my square pressed up against the end of my board, and I'm going to just kind of mark it down along the end of my board this time, because this is where my tenon's actually going to be. So that's 1/4 inch in from my F side, my face side. Then I'll go ahead and switch to 1/2 inch. Because 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1/2. I know the other end of my mortise needs to be 1/2 inch in. We are going to use the mortising machine when we do our actual mortise, so it will be 1/4 inch, but it doesn't hurt to mark both sides. So again, I'll pinch that on there and just kind of work my way down with the pencil here. A much more accurate way to do this would be with what's called a marking knife or a marking gauge to make these. And if you want to see that, I'll definitely show that. Next up, that's going this way. I know I need to be a ½ an inch down from what is the top of my board. So if this is the top, I'm going to measure a ½ an inch down there. And just make sure my square is sitting on there. And I'm going to trace that right there. So there's my top of my tenon. And then I'll change to 2 inches because 1/2 inch plus 1.5 inches is 2 inches. And I'm still referencing off the top of my face. Even if I think this board is exactly 2.5 inches, I'm not just going to measure ½ an inch from the bottom because I don't know for sure. And so there's where my tenon's going to be. Everything around the outside is what's going to go away now. The middle is going to stay. So I'm keeping the middle this time. The last thing I'm going to do is mark off my depth for my tenon. So in my picture, it says I want 1 inch as my depth. So I'm going to set my square to 1 inch. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to just kind of go around my board, marking out where that inch is. I'll do the top the same way. And I'm just getting that consistent depth all the way around. I could absolutely use my square as a square when transferring these lines across, but in this case, since I know it's just 1 inch depth, I'm just going to leave it set at 1 inch here. And I'm going to be getting rid of all that material, just leaving a tenon on that part. And so what that'll look like once I go ahead and remove all that material is it's going to look like this. All right. So from what I had laid out on the end, you can see that that's what's left right there. So we're going to cut these probably on the dado stack, the table saw with the dado stack. So we'll do that when I'm back. But if you want to get these marked out, that's certainly something you can do right now.